Hello, everyone watching in Cowboys Nation. How are all of you doing tonight? That's cool. Welcome back to the Richview Roundup podcast, your exclusive weekly podcast for all things Richview Middle School athletics. I am your host for this show, Colton Richards. This is our second episode of our first season, and we have got a fantastic show for all of you this week. This week, we are going to preview the up-and-coming volleyball season, and we're going to recap the scrimmage versus East End Prep at Nissan Stadium. And also, we are going to debut a brand new segment involving Clarksville High School and Creekwood High School, but that's coming up a little bit later in the program, so stay tuned for that. But first, we always start the show with our weekly recap, so let's get into it. The boys in blue and gray played a scrimmage against East End Prep at Nissan Stadium in Nashville last night. Quarterback Brody Wilkins went 3 out of 4 for 68 yards and a touchdown pass, while veteran Isaiah Ligon had 5 rushes, for 34 yards and a 10-yard touchdown reception. DeMarcus Martin had 3 carries for 20 yards and a touchdown. Cliff Pember had a 28-yard reception. Devontae Cruel also had a reception good for 30 yards. Ligon on defense had 3 solo tackles and a tackle for loss. Keegan Russell had an interception. And finally, Balin Harlow rounded out the defensive efforts with a sack. The team's next scrimmage will be a doubleheader against Good Pasture this coming Thursday. So go and support the Cowboys this coming Thursday. And I plan on you, yes, you, the viewers, to be there. Well, that's going to do it for the weekly recap. And now it's time for the newest installment of our program. You know, folks, every once in a while, if you start watching the show on a regular basis, you know that I'm going to cover everything from football to basketball to softball and all that in my weekly recap. But on every occasion, folks, every so often, I'll update what's happening now outside of the friendly confines of Clarksville, Tennessee, and give you the scoop in our newest segment, Tennessee U on the Road. You get it? This inaugural installment of Tennessee U on the Road takes us to Creekwood High School in Dickson County. Now, in CMCSS lore, when the Richview Cowboys get out of middle school and go into high school, they become Clarksville Wildcats. This week saw one CHS scrimmage against another CHS, Clarksville High School versus Creekwood High School. Now, the format of this scrimmage was done a little bit differently than all the other scrimmages in the past. First, each offensive unit gets 10 plays in a row according to their script, sans chain gang, to see if they have any kinks to go through. Then, each team with the chain gang has an opportunity to drive the ball at least 10 yards for 4 downs until they either score or if a defensive stop has occurred, whichever comes first, of course. Clarksville High scored on the first 2 plays of the scrimmage. On the first play, Bryson Ellington broke off for a 70-yard touchdown run, followed by a 70-yard touchdown pass from Caden Pledger to his brother, Carter Pledger. And that will do it for this first ever installment of Tennessee U on the Road. And I will be handling the Tennessee U on the Road segment in the weeks to come. So stay tuned for that one. Now, without any further ado, let's move on to the preview of the week. This week, we are previewing the volleyball season. The coach of the Richview Middle School volleyball team is Ashley Newcomb. She is assisted in her duties by assistant coach Kiara Todd. There are 3 key matches this upcoming season that will prove to be a challenge for the volleyball team to test their depth: Rossview Middle, Kirkwood Middle, and Montgomery Central Middle. Coach Newcomb's returnees to the team are Izzy Batts, Viv Berry, Kara Wheeler, Ari Scheinold, and Piper Dowling. And in addition to those returning players, we also have 3 newcomers in Riley Crawford, Emily Hansen, and Journey Galbraith. The season starts when the team travels to Montgomery Central on August the 13th. What are Coach Newcomb's expectations going into the season? She said, quote, "Kiara and I are super excited for our first season with Richview. We have high expectations for our girls, and we can't wait for the season to begin," end quote. I wish our volleyball team the very, very best of luck this season. And one more thing. Last year, the volleyball team went 17-2, and they went all the way to the sectional championship. So let's hope that they match that success this year. Again, all the best to the volleyball squad. Now, before we wrap for the week, I do have one schedule correction that I would like to address. The scrimmage at home at Clarksville High at the Hilda against Stewart County has been postponed until further notice. Also this week at 6 p.m. on Friday, August the 8th, the high school football team has a home scrimmage versus the Mount Juliet Bears. So come out and support the Wildcats on Friday. I will, and I hope you will too. And that is going to do it for another fantastic episode of the Richview Roundup. And be sure to tune in next week when we recap the Good Pasture Scrimmage series and the Mount Juliet High School scrimmage in our second installment of the Tennessee on the Road segment. Thank you all so much for tuning in this week. This has been a presentation of the Richview Roundup, a CJR entertainment production. This program has been hosted, written, edited, and produced by Colton Richards. Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay classy, Cowboys Nation, and I'll see you next week.